Howdy, folks. My name is Alan Kavanaugh. I am the Director of Loss Control and Risk Management for Noratech Solutions Inc. out of Prince George, British Columbia. I'll be providing the narrative and supporting information on today's topic on playgrounds, your responsibilities, and inspection requirements as owners of playgrounds. Our agenda today will be introduction and discussions on playgrounds, playground standards. Where do we get the information? How do we come up with what the standards are? What are the inspection requirements? Other information and sources, your responsibilities as owners, occupiers, maintainers of these playgrounds, inspection and maintenance requirements as they relate to the CSA standard, inspection forms and examples, and a conclusion. So first we'll talk about, when we talk about playgrounds, there are many injuries. Literally thousands of children are injured on playgrounds every year. The majority of all injuries occur from falls onto protective surfacing. This protective surfacing can be anything from rubberized product to sand product to wood chips to gravel, depending on the material that is being used to try and reduce the potential injuries that may occur from children when they're falling off of playground equipment. The CSA Z614 standard requires that all owners of playgrounds plan and provide a regular maintenance and inspection schedule. This is listed right in the CSA standard. As discussed, emphasis should be placed on falls to surfacing and maintaining surfacing protection to help minimize exposure to serious injury. The playground standards that we typically follow are as follows. Primary source is the CAN CSA Z614 2020 edition, that'd be the newest edition, Children's Play Spaces and Equipment. There have been 6 releases of this standard. The first one came out in 1990, then 1998, 2003, 2007, 2014, and 2020. The most recent edition actually came out this past March 2020. The scope are as follows. The new standards apply to the following: public use play spaces built and play equipment manufactured after the date of publication of this edition. So any playground equipment that's put in now, June 2020, must meet or exceed the requirements of the 2020 release edition of the CSA Z614 standard. It also applies to any addition and replacement parts to public use play spaces installed after the date of publication of this edition. This could occur, for instance, if there was a large vandalism claim on a playground where part of the playground was burnt or damaged and had to be replaced. The new replacement parts need to meet or exceed the current CSA Z614 release. Various policies, guidelines, and recommended practices. We always discuss these just as an extra. In many areas of British Columbia, in particular, we have what we call licensing agencies that license daycares in particular areas. The requirements for playgrounds are a little bit different than the CSA standards. But what will happen is sometimes there might be a daycare in your area who wants to utilize your playground for their kids to play on. Could be a municipal playground, could be a school-based playground. You have to be aware of the fact that as the owner, occupier, and owner maintainer of that playground, if you sign a document that states they can play on that playground, you may be required to bring that playground up to their standards. So this is just an information process. If you have any questions on this, you can contact me after the end of this presentation. Your responsibilities. You're the owner, you're the maintainer of the playground. You're required to maintain a safe playground. The equipment has to be in good shape. You do not want any head entrapments. You do not want any entanglement areas. You want to make sure that your protective surfacing material is maintained and kept safe at all times. You're required to provide a documented, preferably digital, inspection process. The recommended inspection procedures according to the current CSA standard is daily visual inspections, monthly documented inspections, with an annual all-inclusive playground inspection review. In a lot of cases, this overall playground inspection review is just a review of all of your monthly inspections through the year seeing if there have been any outstanding recommendations that have been completed, why they haven't been completed, and then putting a plan in place to ensure that they get completed as soon as possible. You should also develop a follow-up system whereby once a recommendation has been made after an inspection takes place, there is a follow-up procedure to ensure compliance or repairs over a predetermined time period. In many cases, what owners of playgrounds will do is they'll rate their playground recommendations high, medium, low. Low might be a slight loose bolt, which may not affect the safety of the device. Medium might be a damaged piece, which isn't sharp or pointy edge, but you can wait for repair. While a high might be lack of impact protection, a damaged portion of the playground equipment that should be repaired immediately because it poses a potential hazard. Inspection and maintenance requirements are listed in the CSA Z614 standard, section 11. Recommended inspection and maintenance procedures. If you're going to follow the CSA standard, you must adhere to what we're going to talk about next. A program of daily and monthly inspections and maintenance and schedules should be created by the owner. Any information you require in creating these maintenance schedules or inspection processes, you can contact us at any time. A checklist should be developed, preferably digitally, because it makes it easier to access and track information. Digital is the way to go with inspections in these days, because what it does is it allows you to develop your own rating system, put together the areas of a particular piece of playground that should be inspected, for instance, a slide, swing set, composite play structure, etc. They all have unique potential hazards and risks associated with them, and then develop a follow-up procedure in regards to if a recommendation is made, how fast should it be completed. The inspection shall include, but are not limited to, checking the entire playground area for hazardous debris and litter, checking for any damaged equipment, checking for any broken, missing, or loose parts, checking for strings or ropes of any kind and removing them. These are always potential entanglement, choking hazards. Checking fall surfacing area, repairing, maintaining as required. As we discussed earlier in the presentation, the majority of all injuries, recorded injuries on playgrounds, happens from falls off of equipment onto protective surfacing areas. It's very important that you inspect, rake up, and maintain high-use areas. This would include, but is not limited to, the exits of slides, underneath tire swings, underneath to and fro swings, jump off areas off a playground, bottom of fire pole climbers, etc. Inspection and maintenance requirements. This is section in CSA Z614, section 11.3. Inspection of the play space. Again, we're getting into more of the information as it relates to meeting the requirements of the current CSA Z614 standard. Provide a daily and weekly visual inspection of the play space. Now, in some cases, a daily could just be a walkthrough inspection of the site. Do you see any damaged equipment? Do you see any high-use areas where you may have to rake up or provide more impact protection? Is there any exposed glass, needles, debris on the play space, etc.? Provide a detailed, preferably as we discussed earlier on, digital, monthly inspection documented with follow-up. Provide an annual written report, discuss the inspections over the past year, actions taken to mediate any recommendations, any problems and concerns that you may have experienced through your process. This is where you can check to ensure that your existing inspection program is working for you. It is noting the high use areas, the high areas where you are continually having recommendations, and you're actually moving towards a good system of compliance and conformance to ensure these recommendations get completed. The inspection process should be fully documented. Daily, weekly, monthly view inspections. Develop the program based on hazards and equipment. This is where it's very interesting to develop a program that is specific to your type of playground. Not every playground has a swing set. Not every playground has a tire swing. Some playgrounds have only standalone climbers. They don't have a larger composite playground type structure. You may not have any slides, seesaws. Develop each inspection format in particular to the type of playground you have. Inspect on a regular basis. Again, as we discussed earlier on, the minimum documented preferable digital inspection format as far as the CSA concerned is at least once per month. Develop long-term plans to bring existing equipment up to current standards. Where we see this statement comes into play is we still have a number of municipalities and school districts who have playgrounds that are old. They don't meet the current standard. In fact, if your playground does not meet at least the 1998 CSA Z614 standard release or newer, you should consider having that equipment removed and update the equipment with current play space areas that meet or exceed all of the current CSA standards. Consider providing a digital inspection format, better for record keeping, saving time, following up on recommendations, and ensuring all areas of the inspection process have been completed. The inspection forms, as we discussed, they should be individualized according to your playground. Discuss each piece of equipment separately, i.e., like we talked about earlier on, if you've got seesaws, if you've got a merry-go-round, if you've got tire swings, if you've got to and fro swings, if you've got adventure climbers, if you've got composite play structures, whatever you have on the playground should be listed on that inspection format. Rate hazards based on surfacing, entrapment, entanglement, and impact hazards. As we talked about earlier on, these are some of the areas where we tend to have the most injuries statistically over time in Canada. Surfacing, again, I can't emphasize this any more than I am now. You must maintain a good fall protection area. The majority of all injuries happen from kids falling off of equipment onto the protective surfacing. Develop a plan to bring your equipment up to current CSA standards. Digital inspection programs allow for easier updates and changes. This is a sample inspection form. If you read down the left-hand side, we've got the list of all the equipment, your swings, slides, spring toys, teeter-totters, climbers, etc. And if you go along to the right-hand side at each piece of equipment, for instance, swings, all of the white areas apply to parts of a swing set that should be inspected. The grayed out areas do not apply to that specific piece of equipment. It just makes it easier. So for instance, if we use the swings as an example, you would be looking at the chains, S-hooks, seats, grease fittings, stability and ground, exposed concrete, and surface area around equipment. You wouldn't be worried about springs and bars, plastic components, handles, etc., because they don't apply to that piece of equipment. Again, this is page 2 of the sample inspection form, and it actually discusses areas and how they should be inspected. Chains, for instance, are they bent, worn, open links, pinch points, rust? Do they look to be in good condition? S-hooks, check for excessive wear, making sure they're not reopened. Are the seats in good shape? There are no cuts, damage, exposed metal portions, etc. And on and on. Here's some pictures of some older fun playgrounds. Nowadays we tend to review playgrounds and we find that some are very safe. We don't really have that reckless ability in this day and age to go out and have fun and fall off of playgrounds and learn from your experiences. Here's some pictures here of some older fun playgrounds. A large slide here. This slide appears to be about, 15 feet off the ground. You can see the multitude of kids on it. The side walls for the slides aren't 4 inches. The fall height is excessive. There's improper impact material located above it, etc., etc. Swing sets. Boy, when we were kids, we just loved doing this type of thing. Just seeing how high we could go. Get up to the sun, get up to the sky, get up to the moon. So in conclusion, it's your playground, so you're required to maintain it to the current standard. Inspect, maintain, and repair it. If you've never done an inspection process, you should provide a risk analysis or needs assessment. This determines what you have for equipment, what you should be providing for ongoing inspection and maintenance of equipment. Identify all areas to be inspected. It makes it easier to develop your specific ways of developing an inspection program that will meet or exceed all the requirements of the current CSA Z614 standard. Talk to risk management professionals, people in your industry, staff, and various other organizations. They have all kinds of ideas. They've been through a number of scenarios. If it's brand new to you, don't be shy. Reach out. There's lots of information and lots of support out there. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation today on playgrounds and inspections. If you have any questions in particular dealing with risk management and loss control, obviously this presentation dealing with playgrounds, contact me at any time. Also, let us know what you think about the presentations and if there's any other material or topics you would like us to discuss in the future. Thanks again, and have a great day.